Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I put on my Instagram some questions or options or things that you maybe wanted to see, and I got a lot of people reply and say, how do you pick out your undertone? So undertone is like the underlying tinge to your foundation. So we have our range from light, like a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, fair to deep. You understand that. But then within inside of that, there are undertones, things that range more warm, more cool, and more neutral. And if you Google it, there's like hundreds of pictures and lots of explanations, lots of articles on it, blah, blah, blah. But it can be a little confusing, so I'm going to try my best to explain it to you in the best way that I can, that's easiest for you to understand, so that you don't have to struggle with knowing what your undertone is, what foundation will match your undertone, blah, blah, blah. And I say all of this because you don't want to look like this. Okay, so a cool tone skinned person might have hints of bluish, pink, or like a reddish, ruddy kind of tinge to their complexion. And when they go out in the sun, they tend to burn more than tan. And if your skin tends to do that, then you are probably cool toned. Then the same is true for the opposite. If your skin has more of like a yellowy, peachy, sometimes light olive shade tinge to your skin, and when you go out in the sun you get tan, you tan really easy, then your skin is probably more warm. If when you go outside you kind of get burnt first and then it turns into a tan, or your skin's kind of just hangs out in the sun, doesn't do one or the other, then you're probably neutral. Being neutral is great because you can like have the best of both worlds, but sometimes being neutral, it's hard to find a foundation shade that's not way too yellow and it's not way too red. So when it comes to my skin, I am warm. I am on the warm tone, kind of, but I'm also a little bit neutral. And for neutral people, that means we are kind of a little bit of both. We have a little bit of redness to our skin, but I'm also a little bit yellowy. If you put me next to my fiance, who is very red toned in his skin, you would see that I am a lot more yellow than red. But when you're looking at me now, I look pretty neutral, pretty in the middle. And the way to figure out what you are is actually by looking at the veins in your wrist, which sounds really weird. But if you look at the color of the veins in your skin, you can kind of tell which side of the spectrum you are on. So if you look at the veins that you can clearly see in your wrist and they are more of a green color, then you are more warm. If they are more of a purpley blue, then you are cool toned. And if there's kind of some green, some blue, and kind of like a teal green, so it's kind of in between green and blue, then you, my friend, are neutral. So there's a lot of pictures of this online to kind of help you see that. And I found this. It just shows a better view of that. And so if you're cool tone, you'll actually maybe even have some purpley veins showing. And if you're warm tone, you might actually have some like tannish green, like olive green ones showing in your wrist. So that's just one way to determine whether or not you are cool or warm. Some of us can't see those veins, maybe they're not as visible. So another thing that kind of helps you see is when you're going to pick out jewelry, or if you're wearing jewelry and you gravitate towards silver metals when you're wearing jewelry, that tends to mean that you feel like you look better in silver. And if you look better in silver, that might mean that your skin undertone is cool tone, because cool tones tend to gravitate towards silver more because they feel like they look better in silver than gold, and that is because silver is cool tone and your skin tone is cool tone. And likewise for the opposite, if you feel like you look better in gold jewelry and you gravitate towards gold more, that might mean that you are warm toned. If you can wear both and you look great in both and you don't have to worry about whether or not this is clashing with your skin tone, blah, 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 then you might be neutral. And another thing to kind of help you gauge whether you're cool or warm or where you stand on the spectrum is when you are wearing colors, what you feel you look best in can also kind of determine which side you're on. So if you feel like you look best in greens, teals, blues, purples, pinks, and I'll insert this photo so you can see it better. but colors like that, then you might be cool toned. And then if you feel like you look best in browns, reds, oranges, yellows, rusty kind of colors, sometimes green, olive green, these kinds of colors, then you might be warm tone. And again, if you feel like you can wear literally any color under the sun and you don't really care, and people are like, oh, that's such your color, girl, and you're wearing blue one day and then the next day you're wearing red and they say the same thing, then your skin tone might be neutral. Just to give you like an idea or an example of some people that you probably recognize, like famous people, just so you can kind of see what their skin tone is, that might help you understand what yours is. So a celebrity that has a very reddish undertone to their skin would be Emma Stone. And in this picture you can clearly see that her skin is more of a pink than it is a yellow. And a lot of the time people with red undertones are light haired, and they also have like blue or green eyes a lot of the time. And their skin is usually the kind of skin that when they step outside, they just burn immediately. Those are usually like the kinds of signs to look for to determine whether or not you are a cool tone. Then here's an example of 3 celebrities who have more of a warm undertone. And in the middle picture of Jessica Alba, it's very clear that her skin pulls more of a yellow than a red. So that's just kind of helpful to look at, to see on somebody else. And then here is a picture of neutral celebrities, and you can definitely tell on Jennifer Aniston that she's not super pink, but she's not super yellow. She's kind of more of like a peach, and she would kind of be in the middle of the spectrum. And that's kind of how my skin is. Like some days it looks really red and some days it looks really yellow. And actually my body skin is more yellow and my face is a lot more pink. So what I do is I match my face to my body, which ends up being more of like a warm, but I wouldn't say I'm like super golden. I'm just like almost neutral, but I lean more towards the warm side. So when you're picking out like a foundation, most of the time they have descriptions underneath them, if not in the name describing what it is. So like warm beige, that would mean like it's got more of a yellow tint than a red tint. And then if beige was like the depth of what you needed, and then they had cool beige and warm beige, but you were warm toned, you would obviously use warm beige. Places like MAC have it in the name, so like NC20 and W20, and the confusing thing about them is they actually flip them. So NC, which you would think means cool, is actually warm, and NW is actually cool. I don't know why they did that. It confused me for the longest time, and when I was like in middle school and I got my first concealer, I was like, NW, that means warm, and then I got it and it was like literally like a light pink concealer, and I was like, what is going on? Later I found out MAC switched it on you. Don't know why they did that. Really sorry about that. Anyways, so just to like kind of sum everything up, I found this picture on Google as well, and it kind of just has it like straightforward. These are warm, these are cool, and the warm tones, they're obviously yellow, like straight yellow, and then the cool tones are more like a pinky reddish. So just like figuring out what your undertone is can be very difficult. Something that might help you is to like stand next to your friends and like compare your faces, compare your arms, to be like, because it's very obvious if you are yellow and you're next to someone who's red and you're like, oh, I'm definitely yellow, I am not red. Something like that can kind of help you, as well as looking at the color of your veins, the kinds of colors you gravitate towards when you put on clothes, what kind of metals you wear, gold or silver, things of that nature. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions or things that you don't understand about how to do this or that, or what's best for this, what's best for that, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to answer your questions for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!